Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of my new show. I am my own story. I am Solid Blue Sister, aka Solid, and today we have with us Drew Weaver, who is the CEO of Black Dollar Fund and BlavckLyst. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, BLVCK
Okay,
exactly.
so guys, you got to go to his website, Black Dollar Fund. .com. Y'all, I'll just let him say it. So without further ado, Drew Weaver. So Drew, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about the Black Dollar Fund and why you started it, and well, first why you started it, and then I have some other questions from there.
Okay. Um, I started Black Dollar Fund because first I started to understand that when I was an entrepreneur, I'm a social entrepreneur now, but I was an entrepreneur for many many years, and I pitched a lot to different VCs out there to get my businesses started. Once I started going toward the social entrepreneur aspect, I had another business that was an app that wanted I wanted to end poverty. It's been on my mind and on my heart since I was like 8. We grew up poor, and I didn't know how to do it. And then I started thinking of this app where people could leverage their buying power and be able to uh, buy basically keep stay within their budget and get out of debt. Also to start building wealth just from their buying habits. And I pitched that around, and a lot of the VCs, of course, they're mostly white, told me no. And I didn't know why, because the meetings would lead up to like, oh, this is great, this is wonderful. And the last guy even said, that your business is like he asked me what my value was, and I said, well, just started, and I said, when we do, it'd be like $3 million, I would think. And he said, you don't understand, this is $1 trillion business. And I was like, wow. And he still turned me down. But then I asked him because he was really kind. He just said, that his investors wouldn't invest into a black owner of a
Now,
tech
this
company.
was a white man telling you this.
It was a white man telling me this,
Okay.
yeah. And I was like, oh wow. And so I flew from LA to Washington D.C. to meet this guy, and that was insane to me. But he was the owner of a VC. I mean, I got into the real door, the guy who owned it. But again, the money's coming from other people. Um, And he told me no, but he said once you get your metrics up, and then you can. I'm like, well, I need the $3 million to actually get my metrics up. And he said, but you can do it, and once you do, then you can come back, and you have a better chance because they'll invest in black people who already have something going. And I'm like, wow, that's terrible. So I ended up coming back home on the flight back. I was distraught. I was like, I'm getting tired of being turned down, not because of my brilliance or lack thereof, but because of this beautiful, brown skin that I have. So I was like, man, this is insane. So I started to think, this is right a little bit after George Floyd was murdered. I started to think like I saw these young kids and this energy they had all over the world marching. And I was like, well, Martin Luther King did that. And that's a great thing. But he also started to do the poor man's march where he wanted to work on economics, and that's when he was assassinated. I'm like, we need to do both at the same time. So as they were doing that, I started thinking, how can we work on the economics at the exact same time? And that's where Black Dollar Fund came about. I was like, we need to do it with the people. Um, and I came up with like 3, 10, $25 a month. We put into this pot to be able to invest solely into Black people because most people don't know the stats of what the investment is like for Black America. We get less than 1%. After George Floyd, it kind of increased a little bit to 1.4, but I think it's going to go back down. But for decades, we've been receiving less than 1%. And our white counterparts receive out of the VC funding every year over 90%. So if that's the way we build wealth in America, in businesses, then if we're getting less than 1%, there's no way. I don't care how hard you work. There's no way for the Black community to rise out of that. It's just impossible. You get one or two people, per thousand or whatever that will make it, or per 100,000. but that's still not enough to raise a community. It's enough to raise like a few people, and that mentality doesn't work for our people. It hasn't worked in 400 years, so I don't see how we expect it to start working out of nowhere. Um, so that's when I started to realize, hey, Black Dollar Fund would be able to catapult us, because if you do it with numbers and a lot of people, you're looking at, I say if you get 10%, and this is what I did when I first thought about it. I said, if we get 10% of Black America, which at the time it was like 42 million, it's 40 over 46 now. I was looking at that being like 4.2 around there, million people giving anywhere between 3, 10, $25 a month. That would range in like 50 to $60 million or so a month to invest in Black people. We can get ourselves out of this hole doing that. Um, One of the things I realized is that the Black community, if you look at anything, especially on TikTok and other apps, we run things in the means of every trend, everything that, every dance when this thing first started, and it was 99% Black people creating them, and over the 100% of white people making the most money from it, uh, performing the dance without giving credit, um, acting as if it was theirs, and here they are getting $10,000 deals to promote products, doing these dances that Black people created, but never giving them the credit. Not only is that one the white kid that's getting paid 10,000, this major $1 million company, if not $1 billion company, is getting advertisement to promote, and it's basically for free, 10,000, and they should be paying the creator of that dance 100,000. But they aren't receiving it. We aren't receiving it. So I started realizing there has to be a way for us to take back control over our own brilliance, and make the majority of the money. I don't think we've ever done that in history, and it's about time we do.
Well, Drew, you make a lot of good points, and I have a friend of mine who she always says they take, they take, they take, they take, and I mean, and yesterday when I was thinking about you, and I had just gotten off the phone with her, and I was just thinking about. I said things like terms that we say like "my bad" and just things like that. It's like, how come y'all can't say groovy? How come y'all can't say far out? Whatever. It's like, I mean, and it sounds funny, but it's like, why don't you say your own things? Why do you say what we say? And then one white person said to me, "Well, you should feel good that other people want it." I said, "No, don't go there. Y'all are taken because you all are taken." So,
Mhm.
having said that, and what you just said, Black people are over $1 trillion of the U.S. The money that goes into the US every year. And then you think about what goes outside into other countries and what have you. It's like, you know, I'm going to
We're an
ask
economic
this.
force.
Right. So I'm going to ask this because I have been slammed for it by white people for the past year.
Mhm.
Um, I've talked to a couple of people about, and I heard what you said the other day about people marching, but we need to do more. Um, I think that if Black people for 1 week did not spend any money, we only spent money with Black owned businesses, I think it would seriously put a hurting on the economy. I think now is the best time to do it because of the way the economy is, to show y'all that it's already bad. Now you take us out of the equation, it's going to get worse.
Mhm.
Because the only thing that some people, certain groups see is money. That's the
Mhm.
only thing that can affect them. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? Or
It's like a half and half thing. This happened in Selma, and they did that, and they stopped the buses, stopped using the buses for I don't know how long. I think it was like 8 months or something
it
like
was a
that.
year. It was a
A
year.
year, okay, a year, and it destroyed the economy. It brought it back, and I think what we learned from that is that they would do anything to get us back, but it would only last if we do it for a year. soon as we get back, they know that we'll probably forget about certain things and change it back in
But
about
see,
another
that's
year or
why,
2
but
years
that's
later.
why the lesson has to be ongoing. It's like,
Right.
okay, y'all, once a month, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, this is gonna happen. If you just
Yeah.
had 50% of people doing it, it would make a big dent. Now, having said that, and going back to the Black Dollar Fund,
Mhm.
why should Black people turn to you? Like,
The
why are
reason
you? I mean, why should I come to you as opposed to I am going to take my chance with that bank, or I'm going to take my chance with that guy over there. Why come to you?
the way I do things is altruistic. It's not capitalistic. We use capitalism to be altruistic. It's a new way of doing things, and the only reason that I see is that I ask people. Most people may not understand. That's why I always have to explain. What I do is not an investment for my members. What I do for my members, it's an altruistic thing for them. They want to see change finally. So the
Mm-hmm.
money goes into the pot. Nobody receives like a dividend or anything from it. It's not an investment that way. When it's an investment, is we know our best and our brightest out there trying their best to get funding, and we're only going to rise as a people, or even as industries in our communities that are going to give us living wage jobs, is when we get people who own businesses that give a damn about us. And we keep playing the same game and expecting a different outcome. My thing is to say we have to use the system to benefit us as a culture. Other cultures have done it for centuries, or even came over here as immigrants and have figured it out for themselves. It is a form of unity that allows them to lift their community. We want to go it alone. We always want to compete. It is a defect from slavery that we have constantly fought each other to try to get the quote unquote masses attention. So what we don't understand is that we can change that mentality to be able to lift our people. I believe we have to step out of the same mentality of going to a bank, or you can do that, but it's like if you can go to a bank and they're going to give you a certain percentage, you can look at if I have the right amount of members by the time we reach where we want to go. Let's say I'm at that stage of 4 million, $50 million a month. You're coming to me getting, low interest, 3%, 5%, 1%. Some of it just pay me exactly back what I gave you over a certain amount of time. If I'm doing that as opposed to a capitalistic system where they're going to charge you, oh, what's your credit score? Oh, really? Okay. So we're going to go with you at 20% because you hardly pay 20%. And here you are with this weight over your shoulders. I realize that with my people, we have been put into that system, and that system has never benefited us. So why are we continuing the same thing? It's insanity to continue doing the same things and expecting a different outcome. We need leaders who give a damn about us. Period. It's none of this, we care about everybody. What people really don't understand is that you can care about everybody, but at the same time care about yourself and your people. I look at it this way. Every culture has had a chance basically to rise in this country. And we had opportunities, but we never really unified around our issues. We've unified in religion. We got like Martin Luther King was religious, but he came around issues. You got the other leaders, or everybody's like, I don't want to be Christian, I don't want to be Muslim, I want to be this. I'm like, dude, you're black. Quit siloing yourself and realizing that the power that you have as a people, like you said, 1.4 trillion. It's estimated by 2025 we're spending 1.8 trillion. And I'm sitting there like, we're growing in actually spending, but by 2053 the average median black family, their actual worth will be zero. Your wealth will be $0 by the time 2053 comes. We're looking at like 31 years here.
Mm-hmm.
31 years, and we're in extreme poverty as a people. We may have tens of thousands who are middle class, or hundreds of thousands, maybe a few thousand that are millionaires, but we got to look at the big picture. Every culture just about but us looks at the big picture. And we
But
look at the individual picture most of the time.
but don't you think that we did that when we had? I mean, we had hundreds of black Wall Streets, but as soon as we get, they take, they burn it down, they kill us. So it's like
Hey,
it's not that we did rise up to the occasion, And we
Hmm.
even stayed on our side of the tracks where we're like, we're not gonna go over there. You leave us alone. We're gonna leave you alone. But
Yeah.
they did not like to see. This is my point of view, and I know some people are gonna see this and they're gonna get mad at me and they're gonna push back. But one thing they don't like us to have is money and education. Those
Hmm.
two together it creates fear.
Hmm.
And we did that. And we had that. We had the land. We had this. But they came, took it, lynched us, burned us, whatever. So we've done it before. And I know we can do it again. I know that we can.
Hmm. Exactly. And that's what we're doing. I mean, I looked at all the things that we did in the past. Like you said, the over 100 or so that Black Wall Street type situations that we've had throughout the United States. One thing that we didn't, there are many things that we didn't do, and none of it's our fault, but it's all about a learning process. What they did then was highly successful. That's the reason why they wanted to burn it, because it was like, oh my God, these people are, not spending their money cycling in between 30 to 100 times within their community before it
Mm-hmm.
goes out.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't getting a piece of that pie. These people are becoming wealthy. It came here. Most people don't realize Black Wall Street happened. It started building it in 1906. They destroyed
Mm-hmm.
it in 1921. They did all that within 16 years, buying 40 acres, O.W. Gurley, and building it in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the place called Greenwood, and built it and was thriving and had multiple rich people in a loving
Mm-hmm.
community and stores. And you see those whole blocks of place, all that happened within 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't just successful just for a year. So they built that place in record time. And
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, had wealth and was growing for a number of years. Had to be a decade. So you're saying that all that in just 16 years they did. Of course we can do it. That's what I always say, with my black goal when I talk about that in our community. There's goals that we just have in mind because most of America doesn't want to do it. And black people, once we do get money, we think like white people. We think of the same way. We start 501c3s and try and do like giving back, but it's a tax write-off and it's not in with capitalism. So you only can help so many people. How many people you ask for money? So it's kind of a hard process to get out of if we follow the same methods that white America invests in us, then we're not really solving the problem. We have to step outside of that and see it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about Black Wall Street and things of that nature, how it was destroyed, the thing we have to learn from that is the only way they destroyed it because it was centralized. We're in the world of decentralization. So when it's centralized, you know where to go drop that bomb. You know where to kill all the black people. If they're all in one area, then it's easier to take out, the head of the snake, and it ends. With this is technology. With this, it's business, and we have people from all different realms of this. It'd be white, Latin. My members are all different races, but the people that we help are black. But they're going to be white people working in these companies that these black people are going to own, Latin, Asian, stuff like that. And the thing is that once you intermingle this money with all cultures, you won't just destroy black. You'll destroy white. You'll destroy Latin, and that's going to be a lot harder. But the whole thing happens is that this time the infrastructure is owned by us, by black people, and therefore when we integrate all people in the midst of things, in the midst of it, if we're the head of the snake in the sense of the economic cycle that we created for this, in order to destroy it, they'd have to destroy themselves, and they wouldn't destroy themselves to destroy us. They're gonna destroy, and they can help and they can hurt their own people. Don't get me wrong, but when you're talking about getting people involved with something like this and it's helping, like the poor man's campaign, that's why they cut it out because they realized, they killed him, Martin Luther King, and they realized he's got poor white people too. That's what rich white people use as a crutching against black people is they make white people who are poor or poorer than black people feel and give them opportunities that allow them to think that they're better. They pit us against each other. Now, with Martin Luther King, he recognized that, and he brought white and black and Latin poor people all together with a poor campaign. That was a losing campaign for rich white America because now they wouldn't have, if he could prove that he can bring money back into the community for white people too, poor white people, then rich white people will be in trouble. So in this situation, he had to be taken out because they would lose. In this situation, we're blending in and becoming leaders by creating an economic ecosystem that constantly brings in money, like the Rockefellers. People who are wealthy and died. There are funds that give out $100 million a year just to help people in art. If you're an artist or whatever it may be, these people have been dead for decades. How are they still doing it? Because they created an industry that continues to invest. Those investments will come out perpetually to them forever. Every business is not going to drop. And even the people who are still running it are investing in new things today. So that money's constantly running. But what happens is it's given to certain aspects of the world, whether it's helping other people in other countries, whether it's helping their own people, whether it's helping Black people, Latin people. So now it becomes an ecosystem that consistently brings in money and invests. And I'm creating that same thing for Black America so that we can start investing into our own people. That's the first level into our own people. But once our own people start to rise and we teach them that system, we got other systems that's going to break off that's going to help all people. But me, it's all about focusing on us first, and making the system work, and be perpetually working for us, for times to come, for years and centuries to come. And that's why it can't be that I have investors, because investors become more important than the people. My thing is people over profit, and therefore I'm proving that, uh, by being a good person, by doing good by our people and other people, you can become a billionaire way faster and way more sustainable than every time you get somebody, you rip them off, you take 80%, they got 20%. That system will die because people will be like, you know what, I'd rather go with Black Dollar Fund. They only taking like 3% of my money when I start a business, and they just gave me $3 million, as opposed to these sharks out here. Oh, I want 80% company. I want, and I'm gonna do all this extra crap for you. I'm like, okay, well, with me, I create, not only am I creating the economics aspect of it, I'm creating a community, what I consider a village at the same time. So these village of people who are in putting their $3, $10, $25, and some even more into, they are a community of people who are willing to even invest into these Black companies individually to create their own wealth. And they'll know because, hey, the Black Dollar Fund, our members know, they will know we just invested in these three companies. Go to portfolio, you can see exactly who we invested in. You can go to that company and say, hey, look, I see Black Dollar Fund invested in you. What you guys got going on? Are you raising somewhere else? And you can invest 10,000 or whatever of your own dollars into them and create more wealth for yourself. But in this situation, it's got to be altruistic. It can't be capitalistic in a sense of, we got to make so much money for our investors. Then the investors become more important than the people, and that's our problem. We consistently, we can't play that same game as America's been playing for hundreds of years, because that doesn't benefit us to get us out of this, to kickstart us out of this. But it will benefit us in the situation of, once you do have money, you can start playing that game that everybody's wanted to play but just didn't know how. And we want to educate people in that process too, whether it's financial literacy, all these different things. But that's as we start to build a community of people who give a damn about us.
Okay. All right. So, um, since the Black Dollar Fund first and foremost focuses on Black people,
Mhm.
what do you say to the people who are not Black, um, and they look on your website and they see members that are Latino, white, whatever, um, and they're like, well, wait, they're investing in you, they're a member, but why can't you help me?
I always send people, I'll tell them, like, do your homework. It's not anything that deals with race or anything like, or racism. It has to deal with actually helping a culture rise. If you look at, like, I go with stats. I don't want to just talk about my emotions. I say, if you go look at VCs out there right now, there are a bunch of them. They're Asian, they're Latin, there's, whatever. And what people don't understand, and this is what Black people, we need to focus on, realize, it is used as a weapon whenever Black people want to rise, that we are somehow, racist, think that we're superior, or some nonsense. And a lot of times we'll like kind of like cower to that mentality because, like, yeah, I don't want. I'm like, no, do your homework and come from an educated stance instead of from an emotional stance, you'll realize that not every every Latin firm that says it invests in Latin people only invests in Latin people. Every Asian firm that says it invests in Asian people only invests 100% into Asian people. We can go down the line. The only firm of any kind of VC or investment that goes with black, BIPOC, gay, lesbian, whatever, or black VC funders. And why? I have no clue. The only thing I can think of is that the money that they're getting from rich white people is coming with a caveat that you have to help all people. And that's the problem with Black America. We have that problem that we will accept money that is going to help a little bit. Like people, I can't stand that phrase that we always say. It's like something's better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That just means that you're going to take the worst just because you can't feel that anything else is better going to come out of it. And sometimes you just have to say, you know what? We got to wait for something like a Black Dollar Fund to rise before that actually happens. Because we got to think, if we're always accepting the lesser, how can we rise? And I tell other people in situations that many years ago, the Latin community, as far as investments go, were receiving less than 1% too. And if you start to look at how they rose to get now VC funding of over like 2%, while doubling what Black people receive, you'll start to understand that they're receiving money from these white firms, getting a low percentage from them, but they're also receiving money from these Latin firms that invest solely into Latin people. And it's not a BIPOC thing. You go look at these Latin firms, they don't say, oh, BIPOC and Latin and BIPOC. No, it's Latin. But go to a Black firm, it'll say Latin, it'll say Black and BIPOC or BIPOC altogether, which includes Latin people.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at Latin people getting 100% with their own firms, and then Black people are spreading off whatever it may be. It may be 1%, maybe 3%. Still, that's 103% to our what? Then you can't rise as a people if you're constantly splitting the pie. You have to be able to rise as a people is focusing on that individual community. And once that community can actually rise and take care of itself without needing all these extraneous cultures to try and give it a boost, then and only then can we be in the power to be able to help other people. I don't do this because I don't want to ever help anybody else. I do this because my people need it the most because we've been treated the worst on this land.
Okay. All right. I want to go back a little bit. I want to talk about black hair for a moment. Okay.
Like their own.
You are familiar with soft sheen? Are you familiar with
Yes.
soft sheen?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I went to school with the sons of soft sheen.
Mhm.
And they started with their dad was making it in their basement in Chicago. And you know, the boys and they would come and help, whatever. And then they did very well. I used to, when I would take the bus going places, I would pass by, whatever, soft sheen, whatever. But then here comes the white man. And in the 90s, they saw how much money, once again, Black people spend on their hair. Black people spend a lot of money on their hair. Black women spend a lot of money going to the beauty shop. All of a sudden, they want a piece of it. And when the father stepped down, the oldest brother who took over sold it. Why do you think that we keep doing that? Because you look at Johnson and Johnson. I used to, when I was in school, one of my best friends, her mother was the nurse, at Johnson Johnson. And we would stop by there and, and she would see her mom, whatever, and we would leave, whatever. And, it's like all these Black businesses, which were foundations, have disappeared, or as soon as we make money or they see that we're making money, they want to swoop in and buy it, and we sell it.
Mhm.
I mean, I personally don't think that we should do that. But why do you think
Mhm.
we do? Because we sell before they do.
True. um, there's a lot of depth into that. One is the, in the industry of entrepreneurship, um, there are people who buy businesses just to flip them.
Hmm.
That's just it. It's like they sell their company. That's just how the industry works. Whether no matter what race you're in, they literally will buy a business
Hmm.
and then do whatever they can and try and sell it for tenfold or whatever. I think what happens is that again, like I was talking about, how we as a people don't see us as a people. We see us as individuals, and so we look at individual wealth. We look at like, how can I rise? How can I rise? Not really looking at the big picture that your business is more than a business. It is a part of your culture. It is a part of of your legacy. And once that's sold over to other people, it's not really a legacy. It's like it's been passed over to somebody else, and that wealth, that generational wealth, goes to them.
Hmm.
And I don't think we think beyond that. I think a lot of what we do is a, how would I say it, where we're trying to appease, or like I said before, we're trying to make massa realize, hey, look, I can do this too. I can do business too, just like you. And I mean, that's all fine and dandy if you want to do that, but the idea is this: if you don't create generational wealth within your own community, we're in the situation that we're in now, which by 2053, the average median black family will be worth zero as far as wealth. So we got to look at the bigger picture. And that's the point. We can't play the game like they play it. Not at this point. We have to play it smarter. I think of working smarter and not harder. And that's what, when I come up, what I'm doing, I've thought about what you're talking about over and over and over again. Like, how are we going to change this sustainably? And then
Hmm.
I start thinking about, how are we going to do it where, within laws, that they can't destroy it for certain other reasons, they can't, if they change anything that we're doing, because I'm working within the system, by changing the system, they'd have to change the entire system. And other than they can't just reach out and just change us, because we're just doing everything that the system already has available to every white business and every business out there. You can't tell a business what to do with his or her profits. That's the
Hmm.
thing. So what I'm doing is creating memberships. It's like, okay, members, you're getting connections with all these different people and blah, blah, blah. But this is basically the business's profits. You can't tell me what to do with it. So if you could, then that would be a situation where they can try and hook us. But it's all about avoiding all the nonsense and finding exactly what it is that we can do to make things happen for us. And a lot of our businesses, the way they work and the way they think, they're still in a capitalistic system. They want to play the game like the big boys do, more or less the
Hmm.
the rich white boys do, and they don't realize that the rich white boys are creating generational wealth and creating a legacy for white America. They think of it as just money is money, business is business. It's like, no, you look at these major corporations that are buying these things, they're mostly, if not all, white. And they're creating legacy and power. Like, one of the things you mentioned before, they don't like us having an education, they don't like us having the money, and they definitely don't like us having any kind of power. So what we have to do, we've realized that, like for instance, our voting power, they're trying to change it so they can lessen it, changing rules so they can lessen our power. We have to have voting power. We have to have economic power. We got to have lobbying power. We have to create a system for us that works for us. And seeing as how we spend estimated 1.8 trillion by 2025, we can do it in the confines of creating an industry inside of an industry. And that's the way we can make it happen. I don't see any other way. I've thought about it a million times. There's really no other way to play the game as it's already being played, and us to to like to jump over, this whole, like, this moat situation where everybody's over there having a great time, and we can't get over this divide. no matter what we do, we get the people who do get wealthy that are of the black culture. Again, they made their money within a system that they perpetuate. They keep doing it. If the system works, why mess with it? It's making me rich. Why mess with it? I figured it out. And it's a situation where, well, yeah, you have, but what about the majority of our people? And I don't think any of these people that are out here telling us that are black realize that, the study's been done that less than, in 31 years or less, the black community to be in a fatal like economic situation. Now, even if these things aren't like 100% right by 2031, it's close. It's like even if it ain't zero, it may be $100, $500. Still, that's something that we need to get on. And a lot of our black owned businesses don't see it. A lot of the people, like you said, selling their business, they don't see it that way. uh I don't even think they even understand that status. They're focusing on, how can I get wealthier than I am now? How can I can sell this business and start another one. I can, and that's when you talk about the greed working for you. The greed works for you because, oh, I'm making $10 million a month now. But if I sell it to this white guy, I can get like $1 billion. And I'm like, okay, you get $1 billion, but what are you going to do with this money? I mean, the legacy of you is what you created. And we have sold it over and over and over again, only to have other people make it seem as though 20, 30, 50 years down the road, like right now, does anybody know a black man created potato chips? No, Lay's is getting it in. But it's a situation where we have to start realizing that we got to think about the long haul of our people as opposed to this short time we have in each individual life that we've been given. Um, we don't want to start from zero every time. And that's another thing that our people, you'll hear black people say, to the extent of, yeah, I'm rich, but I ain't giving my kids nothing because, they're going to start out like I did. So you want your kids to go, in a sense, you want your kids to go back to slavery and start back over instead of actually giving them the head start they should have that you worked so hard to get to. Because most people don't understand, this is the way I look at it. You are standing on the shoulders of brilliant people who
Mhm.
got where you are right now.
Mhm.
We are our ancestors' dream.
Mhm.
And we haven't even reached the full-on dream that they wanted, but we got way more than they had. And if we continue to like be able to say, oh, let's get our kids to start back over, you are slapping every slave in the face. You're slapping every fighter of freedom in the face by not allowing your child to take on that wealth and do better for black people. You're the only ones who have the economic means to be able to push that agenda, to be able to help people out. And you're talking about not giving it to your children. It makes no sense to me. It's like you got to give it to your people. Otherwise, the government's going to take it.
Mhm.
So why have your kids start at zero? I
Mhm.
don't hear too many other races talk about that, but I hear a plethora of black people talking like that. I'm like, where are you? Where's your value system? What are you talking about? You don't have your kids start at zero. I mean, you don't want to give them everything while you're alive. Do whatever you can, but please leave the money for them to figure their way out in life. And hopefully, they're just as altruistic as you may have been or should be, and they can progress not only their future but the future of many many black people to come.
Okay. All right. So, Drew, tell us, what is the difference between Black Dollar Fund and BlavckLyst?
Okay, this isn't. I asked God for answers all the time. That's why I get my I drive my energy from. And so I realized when COVID happened, I was all everybody was at home, doing nothing, working, doing nothing. That you kind of like staring at the walls and watching, painting the walls and watching them dry. So it, I started, like I said, I saw on TV all these people out here marching, and I started realizing, um, I I got into a conversation with someone. They were talking about history, and I said, "Man, I hate history." They were like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I hate it, dude." Only thing that I knew growing up as a kid, they taught me in school was that we were slaves, we fought for freedom, and then after that, we've been fighting ever since. There ain't nothing else they really told me about. I mean, I know we made the stoplight or something like that. I said that's that's pretty much all. The whole thing of what I learned in school. and it just turned me off. I didn't want to hear it anymore. So here I am, like at this time, I'm like a 49, 51 now. I was a 49-year-old man. I'm sitting there like, why do I did a deep dive, like, why do I hate history? Why do I hate history? It's got to be some brilliant black people. So I came home that night, got on the computer, typed in, brilliant black people or smart black people, or educated, like whatever inventions of black people, and a plethora of things came up, and I was like, holy, so I'm sitting there like, wait a minute, and I started learning about brilliant black people in history, and I was like, wow, um, and I'm not gonna lie, I cried like a baby. I was like, man, I didn't know these things, and I had so much pride in my blackness that it's like before. We've been fighting to try and get equal. We've been fighting to try, and what that amounts to is I want to be, just treated like white people. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of have this like, I don't know, it's kind of like an inner feeling that, white is right and everything else is wrong. And so I started paying attention to that and started researching things. And that's when I started TikTok. My girlfriend said, hey, you might as well, do TikTok. I'm like, nobody. Those are kids dancing. I ain't getting out there and dance. Nobody. I'm good. I said that was a good time. It was a time in life where I dance all day. And I say, she's like, no, there's other things on there. And so I started posting, and I was just posting random stuff talking about it. And then I started posting these videos about Black brilliant people in American history, and it just started to blow up. I woke up one morning and had like 3,000 followers in like one night. I was like, "What? How did this happen?" And it was an amazing feeling because I felt like if I felt that huge jolt of like pride and tears coming out and shedding myself out of this cocoon of self-hatred or whatever it may have been, that was hindering me from even wanting to learn about my people. Um, I started to realize I can share that. And when I started sharing that Black Brilliance on the B side, when you say BlavckLyst, that's my TikTok name. I started sharing that, and that started to get some headway. Ever since I was a kid, I've been thinking about how to end poverty for Black people. So, um, God works in mysterious ways. It turns out that BlavckLyst was the educational tool to build um, pride within Black America, realizing that you did wonderful things. You've always been brilliant, and one of the catalyst for this was that people started hitting me up, and in the messages like, um BlavckLyst, thank you so much, I listened to you in the car, I listened to you with my friends, and you have a great voice, and all these compliments. You got your hate, but I didn't really pay attention too much to them. But you got people who are like saying, we take this phone and we sit it inside the room, and everybody, mom, dad, grandma, are listening to me tell them about how brilliant they are. And that to me brings tears to my eyes. Even now, I'm like about to, yeah, should have brought a towel. Should have brought a towel. It brings tears to my eyes when I hear my people getting prideful, and breaking the chains that still rely, that's still on Black people, not knowing how brilliant they are. And so that's where BlavckLyst came about. But it didn't stop there. It was the fact that, okay, now that I'm educating my people how brilliant they are, a lot of Black people, I feel, are going to want to step into their own brilliance. So I was like, I got to have another step for them. So I created, um, the idea of the Black Fund came up kind of first before that, and it all kind of Black Fund became a situation where I was like, okay, how do we economically make this work with George Floyd and all stuff like that, like I told you before. And that's how that came about, thinking like we had to have a fight on the streets and also a fight in the economic realm. And then I came up with my Patreon, which is all about helping Black people. It's called the Black Bakery. Uh, get ready for the funds. So it's like, how can I get our people from living in poverty and realizing like, man, I don't have any, no good jobs out there. There's no opportunities. I don't know what to do. Or I am working. I got this job working crazy hours, being able to do things. Being able to get a chance to invest in themselves to get them out of the situation they're in. So now give them pride in themselves, give them, opportunities to be able to rise if they even have any belief in themselves, and then educating them on financial literacy, business, and all the stuff like that. Not some crazy exorbitant amount like $10,000 to come up. That doesn't make any sense. Really small amounts that they can start to learn and connect people, creating a situation where you have a network. Because of the people that I reach out to are financial literacy people, educators. They're in the finance industry. They're investors, and they're going to be a part of this whole process too, to help these brothers and sisters kind of get a grasp on how to do certain things from technology, from terminologies, all the way to actual strategies of investing. So that's like, okay, so now we'll have BlavckLyst, Black Brilliance, educating them. We'll have, the Black Bakery actually giving them opportunity to learn about how to manage their lives and to get ready for funding. Black Fund to actually fund them once they're ready. And if they're not ready, being able to continue that education. And then I'm starting something called Black Unity, so that it's a social network, so that we can actually get together and talk about social issues that we face, that we can have some kind of form of unity. Um, and hopefully that'll foster a village type mentality for us, that we can vote on certain issues that we have. And this whole thing is like, it came to me like recently, and I decided to start working on it. And I'm raising like 250,000 for that right now on GoFundMe. So it's a whole cycle of, like I told people, say it's economic ecosystem that's designed for us to continue rising, not just today, but forever, even long after I'm dead, long after my kids are gone. The system has to work in a situation where we have to extract greed, though. We can't have investors, because investors will tear everything apart on
Mhm.
their greedy ideals. We have to have a system that's working with, sorry, I got a phone number. We got to have a system that's working with the within the capitalistic system. And that's the only way we can actually have it work within a system that's already here. Because you know how people are like, oh, it's socialism, oh, is it? And then they throw all these buzzwords around, and they try to destroy everything that Black people do. Say all these crazy terms. Well, I'm just saying it's capitalism, but what we're doing is we're using capitalism to be altruistic. So you're buying stuff, but you can't tell me what I'm going to do with the funds that I get, because hey, it's still capitalism. But on the end of what I'm doing, I take that money. I don't go buy, $15 million home. I go invest $15 million into the Black community. Simple. Uh,
So tell everyone, I know you have levels of membership, so let everyone know what your levels of membership are.
yeah, we have 3 levels, and those are $3, $10, and $25 a month. The $3 one is called a standard. Premium membership is 10. Ultimate is 25. You can be able to uh, adjust that. If you can do more than 25, you can adjust that amount to whatever you want. But what it comes down to is that these funds are going to be used to invest solely into Black entrepreneurs and Black people. Once we grow, I want to invest into people who want to buy homes, or uh, uh, build their communities, or whatever it may be, create industries in their community. It's finally getting to a place where, in my mind, the vision that I have, it gets us to a place where we should have been hundreds of years ago. Once we were set free, this should have been the situation. Had those enslaved people been given their 40 acres and a mule, can you imagine? Look what O.W. Gurley did with 40 acres. He turned it into Black Wall Street. If every enslaved family was given that same opportunity, just imagine where Black America would be, with the ingenuity that we have, the creativity that we have. And I keep telling my brothers and sisters, extract Black people from America, and there is no America. And the reason why I say that is because they do everything we do. They take everything we do and make a enormous amount of money from it. And everything that they've created, just about, you can't find a Black person that can't do it just as good or even better. Basketball, best people playing now. Black people couldn't play. Now you're looking for other races that play the sport. You feel like, wait. what? Where is 90% or 85%, something like that, black, but ownership is like 100% white. And so
Mhm.
it's still the same situation of a plantation. But it's just a lot of money involved. You're paying the individuals more money. But we have to realize that we have to get industry ourselves, and we have to have something and not sell it,
Mhm.
keep it. So therefore we can continue to buy up businesses. It's like they're playing Monopoly and we're playing Candyland.
Mhm.
And so if we can start playing, like chess, we can be able to beat this whole game. And it's again, I'm not looking for world domination. I'm looking for us to have the life that we deserve. And that
Mhm.
is going and like again, my vision is like I really want to go to a job one day. I don't want to work anymore for anybody, but I want to go to a business and my business where everybody, I would say 90% of the people working there are black. Why do I want to see that? Because I want to see black brilliance at work. It's never been done. You don't see any business. Every time, even I used to work, and no slight on Arsenio Hall, but I used to work for Arsenio Hall when I was young, as 1993, 94. And I saw the stuff on TV, and I'm like, wow, like black this and black show. And I got there, and everybody behind the scenes was white.
Mhm.
I was like, who are all these white people? It's like, what? This is our city hall, but I understand some things are just the way they are. But I took notice, and it gives the feeling sometimes that black people aren't capable. You know what I'm saying? That they're not it's not possible to be able to do this with a bunch of black people working for professional black people. But I ask people, I say, and people are always like, this, you're always making this about race. And I said, man, do me a favor. Go to, because I was in tech. And I said, go to any tech company, Silicon Valley. Just go. Just take a tour. You know what I'm saying? And watch the people with badges, the people who work there. You will be hard pressed to find anybody outside of a white person. You can't tell me that white people are the only people who know how to do technology. I've been to so many black conferences where black people, I mean, the place is filled, having to be at least 100,000 or more black people in there in tech, but no jobs, looking for jobs because it's somewhat of a job fair there. And I'm sitting there like, So if I walked into these conferences where all these black people, if all of them was working for a tech company that we had, oh, I think it would grow and be tremendous because I truly believe in our people. I do believe that we're like, again, it's not hard to prove how brilliant we are. Like I said, this app, you see how brilliant we are on it. Uh, when we weren't able to play basketball, look how brilliant we are. We're musicians, how brilliant we are. We created hip hop, rap, R&B, blues, jazz, all these industries. If we owned them, we'd be the richest culture on this planet. We don't own them. We're just great at doing them. And we need to start being great at owning them and doing them. That way we can own everything that we put out there. If you look at the way this country has worked, if from inception, if black people owned their masters, if black people never sold their businesses, if black people owned their inventions, if that happened, just think how tremendously wealthy we would be.
No, you're absolutely right because growing up, my mom was a teacher. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a postal worker, and my mother used to tell us about Black history so much. I mean, to the point where my sister and I, again, I mean, she would pull out the projector, and we would learn all this and learn that,
Mm,
and we went to a Lutheran school that was mostly white. And, I remember a teacher one time talking about slaves, and I was a freshman in high school, and Roots first came out, the
mhm,
original Roots. And my science teacher said, who was white, slavery wasn't that bad. It really, really wasn't. And he says, in fact, I think that what you're seeing on Roots is a lot worse than what it probably was. Now, granted, I wasn't a slave. I didn't live back then. Neither did he. But I also have ancestors who passed down stories and what have you. And it's like, seriously? And the
mhm.
black kids that are in the classroom, we were like, you know.
Mhm.
So again, when you say, that we weren't taught this, I mean, all we've been shown on TV is like you see these ads and stuff, and you see white women or white men,
Mhm.
whatever. And that's what, you see something with soap or something, beauty is supposed to be white, and
Mm.
it's not. I had someone tell me, and I know he's
Mhm.
probably going to listen to this, he's going to get pissed off. I'm going to say this. White man, we were talking about a particular black woman, and he said, she's on the thick side. Most of our people are, we blacks and Latinos,
Mhm. Mhm.
He said, well, if she lost some weight, she would be beautiful.
Mm.
And I said, well, she's beautiful now. And
Mhm.
once again, it's like that ideal that we're supposed to look like this. But that's all we were told. That's what when you turn on TV, that's all we were told. I've told people before that I did not own a black doll. My mother, even though I was too old by the age of 9 to play with dolls, I did
Mhm.
not own a black doll until I was 9 because my mother would not buy my sister and I dolls. If we
Mhm.
if we got dolls, it came from my aunt who went to Jamaica, and she would always bring us back these little, black dolls, whatever. But my mother never bought us dolls because she
Mhm.
wanted us to have play with something that looked like us.
Right. Right.
So I think what you're doing with Black Dollar Fund, I think is fantastic, Drew. I think it's incredible, and yeah. But now, with the little time we have left, I want to go to Chocolate Music Lab. Okay, so tell everybody about Chocolate Music Lab on TikTok.
Oh, yeah. I started my this chocolate music lab started because my sister passed away, and I sat on in front of the TV, and I said, you know what? I mean, my computer, I went live, and I started playing a playlist of my sister's favorite songs, and I'm sitting there tearing up and crying and stuff, and everybody's like feeling bad for me, but I was doing it. It was tears of joy. It was tears of
Right.
like remembering her, and so that's how it started. But I wasn't, I mean, that day it didn't start. It was just I did that. And then somebody asked me about, "Oh, are you gonna do another music show?" I'm like, I'm not a DJ. I just play music because I love it. And so that's how it ended up starting. And I just started playing old school music because it makes me feel good. It gives me I'm a creative person. It puts me in a creative mind. And I attach so much to them, so much love and happiness and joy from growing up. The things that I did remember when you're at home listening to music and watching your family, the rest of the world and all its ills didn't matter. It's like that family unit was everything, and those memories mean everything to me. So I started playing old school music, and little by little, people. I didn't know what to call it. I was asking everybody, what are we gonna call it? And then in one room, it was a lady. Her name was Chaco Lynn. She comes in every once in a while again. But somebody had said, music. I said music. Somebody said lab. I said, okay, music lab. And then Chaco said, like about chocolate. And I was like, I'll say because her name. I was like, you know what? That sounds good. So we did chocolate music lab, and it rolled with it. It was a community decision about the name of it, and that's what it's all about. It's about community. It's about loving on people, being positive, and everybody sharing their own love of music. And it turns out when you're in the midst of love and music, you share that with each other. So it
Mm-hmm.
became a village of people, all races, colors, from all over the world, from Africa to certain other places, Latin places of the country to Italy. We have people in the room that just love on each other, and it's not just me. I just sit there, I'm playing, and sometimes sweating and whatever, and everybody in the room is just chatting and
Mm-hmm.
loving, praying, and it's an amazing adventure for me every Friday. I can't wait for it. Like I say, like that's one of my sweets I get to have. Give me a cavity. I can have that sweet every Friday. I'm waiting for that piece of chocolate.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what made you do the marathon that you do? You go from like Friday evening all the way into Saturday morning? Like, is that
Yeah.
so? What made you go for so long?
Well, it wasn't planned to go that long. It became a situation where I started it, like I said, when I was with my sister. It started out being that kind of long because it was just a moment of like constantly thinking about her and song after song after song,
Hmm.
and I didn't know time flew. I didn't know it was like almost like 8 hours or whatever it was. I was just sitting there, just remembering her. So people got to see me go through this transformation of like sad and happiness, and every song I'm dancing with, and I'm remembering her as a child when I was a kid with her, and all this time, and that's where it started. That was the beginning of it, and so I kind of kept that format. But it is a long time, but uh it's to me, I mean, I like the fact of being able to incorporate everybody. It's become to me a community of people, which is amazing that a lot of people will
Hmm.
stay up that whole night at 6 hours to be able
Hmm.
to do that. You can't get people to pay attention for like 10 minutes most of the time.
Well, when you play music, especially old
Mhm.
school just takes you back because you're playing some music. I'm like, man, I remember that. I remember that, and I remember when I danced with this my first slow dance as a
Mhm.
freshman,
Mm.
dancing with this junior. And I'm not going to say his name, what his name is, but I still know his name. And every time I think about him, I'm like, I love me some blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
And he asked me to dance off of an Isley Brothers tune. And I went home. I'm like, I danced with the junior. I danced with so and so. But I remember that. It's like it just comes back in basement parties. And I put it in the
Oh,
chat, basement
yep,
parties,
yep, yep,
whatever.
yep.
So, but I will say this because that night just tickled me. I think it was last week. You were just chatty, and you were talking about you were remembering stuff,
Mm.
and somebody put in the chat um, driving an electric 225, and by the time you turned the corner, the song was over. Whatever. And I was thinking about that. I was just laughing. It just tickled me so much because you think about those songs and you think about the cars that people were driving, the Monte Carlos,
Yeah,
the deuce and a quarter as they called them, whatever.
yeah.
So just that show just had me tickled because you were just chatty and I was just laughing. I was just literally laughing to that entire show.
Oh, yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, I'm a talker. I just say, I mean, it's just the way it is. I love people. I love to talk, and I think that the community is the thing that I love
Mm-hmm.
so much about it. Being able to look at everybody. I go to other lives and I see the structure.
Mm-hmm.
Even when in programs they teach us to do certain things, and I don't do
Mm-hmm.
them. I break those rules because,
Mm-hmm.
again, those are more like a capitalistic type of thing. Like uh, they don't want, and I ain't say they ain't forcing us or nothing, but they're like their suggestion is, uh, responding to people, you should add a fee to that. Being able to call somebody out. Like already, you give a call out. This is, you got to be a fee added to that type of thing. And I don't do it. I enjoy the community, and they give me what they give me. So like I tell people, it's like sometimes in those 6 hour nights, sometimes I get out of there and I have like $2 I made that night. I've had a great time no matter what. But I get like cohorts who are mutuals, and they're making $300 a night, and they're doing like an hour. Like maybe it's something I'm doing wrong. I don't know, but I look at it and I say, man, you know what though? I wouldn't trade that for the world to be able to have that communion with other people,
Mm-hmm.
and I love people sharing their memories. It sparks something in me as well. It makes me smile. It reminds me of my uncle or my aunts or my mom, who's still here, but when she was young, it's like I look at her when she's in her 30s or 40s, and I'm like when I was a little kid looking up to her. So I love it. So it takes me back to a certain place, and I always have this tremendous energy afterwards. Sometimes I can't go to sleep straight away. I talk about I'm going to sleep, but I don't because I'm all excited about what just happened.
Okay. All right. Well, Drew, I have enjoyed this so much.
Thank
This has been great. I'm glad I finally got a chance to meet you. We're both in the LA area, so maybe one day, I don't know, coffee. Well, I drink tea, but anyway,
Yeah, yeah. I drink coffee. Yeah.
you know,
Late.
I haven't drank coffee in 15 years.
Wow.
I gave it up. Yeah. So, but everyone, I hope you enjoyed this. So, Drew, before we go, tell everybody where they can find you, your websites, everything, or
Okay. Well, you can reach me on TikTok at BlavckLyst, as you see down below, BLVCKLYST. Black Dollar Fund is spelled with a V, so BLVCK. All my black is spelled with a V because with an A it gets flagged a lot, so I don't want to have to deal with that. People say that it may be an issue or so. So Black Dollar Fund. We also have the Black Bakery. We have the Black Bakery, so you can look at that on Patreon. And also look up Black Unity. And that's something that we're raising money for right now. So if you want to check that out and see exactly how we can build community together, appreciate that.
and you're on TikTok when?
I'm on TikTok. I have three different shows. One show is on Sunday, which is today, and we'll be doing old school jazz, blues, and old school TV show themes. We kind of guess and have fun with that. On Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, have hip hop, rap, R&B like 90s and before. And then on Friday, that's the main show. That's a 6 hour show. We get it in, Team No Sleep. That starts at 9:30 Pacific Standard Time every Friday, and it goes all the way, till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes. So that's where you can find me on TikTok.
Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you very much, and thank you for giving up your Sunday morning
Oh, definitely.
to talk to me. I appreciate it. So, everyone, I am Solid, and that's Drew Weaver for BlavckLyst and Black Dollar Fund and the Chocolate Music Lab, which y'all gonna have to check out on TikTok. So, until then, everyone, I will see you next time. Bye.
Take care.